Well, welcome to another episode of Click Happens. And back by popular demand, we have Akansha Pathak. The episode that we did about AI was our most watched episode. I did get a call from YouTube saying, "Hey, we're almost, our servers are at capacity. Bandwidth, what are you doing?" And then we decided we're just going to double down and do another episode of it. And with us as well is Maddie Kreitzberg. Yes, there is a relationship. She is my daughter, full disclosure. She also does some marketing work for us as well. And we're going to talk about AI in a number of areas here. And I'm going to start off really with an app that Conscious just developed that focuses on privacy. From an insurance standpoint, cyber insurance standpoint, privacy has become more and more of an issue. As states have created privacy laws regulating what data you can capture, what type of disclosures you have to make back to the person with regards to that data. How are you going to use it? Will you delete it? How quickly you will delete it? It's created a lot of challenges for businesses, a lot of opportunities for plaintiff lawyers, a lot of class action suits, and therefore a lot of claim payments. So a big issue for cyber insurance. What we're trying to do is how do you underwrite it? How do you even know that there are privacy issues that exist? And what we've done at SeedPod is we've actually created an app to help as part of our underwriting process. And Akanksha, could you kind of briefly describe what that is?
So in most cases, the clients that we're working with have sensitive data, like for example, a healthcare company, something like that. We have to make sure that before they use or access a website, that the website, whatever cookies or data that they're collecting is compliant with the healthcare regulations. Otherwise, they could be in serious legal trouble if they give out their information to them. So, in a case like that, it's very important to know what a website is collecting from you before you even go in. Prevention is better than cure. A lawsuit would definitely be a bigger problem than just going in and doing this check. So that's where this app comes in. So you can easily just put the name of the website that you're looking for that may be targeted to your business. And this app, it uses like pixel scanners and trackings, and we have AI algorithms in the back end that do more like that go in depth to tackle the AI blockages that websites have in place to prevent you from looking at their cookies. So we are like essentially battling AI with AI. So what this gives you is a report of all of the things that are in that website that could be used to potentially track you. So there's two components to this app. One that evaluates their privacy policy and one that scouts for trackers. Privacy policies, we know it's a sketchy thing. Most websites try to hide them or put them in a different domain so that you can even never get to it. But they still have to legally put them on.
And no one reads them, right?
No one reads them.
Nobody reads them. Right.
Yes,
Right.
they hide it. No one reads them. No one cares. But all of the truth is in those policies. And some of the jargon can be super confusing. So we look at those policies and tell you if they're compliant with the international regulations and norms and what you should look out for. That is one thing. And the other thing is just scouting for the trackers, pixel trackers, which are the nasty things that you don't even notice when you're using a website. You'll just be using it, and 100 different trackers would be capturing all your information. In this case, because we have this tracking, and you put your website in through that tracker, you already get a report of all the different trackers that are in there and how malicious they are and how what steps you need to do to protect yourself. So it's essentially preparing you for war before you go in.
Wow. Wow. Now, Concha, let's be fair. Not the trackers aren't nasty, right? They're, it's just if bad people are using them, right?
Yes.
Some trackers can be for good, not for just evil. There, Maddie, you're in the marketing, are and marketers like these pixels, right? It can tell you if someone is looking at a website, where they're looking at it, if they, if you pick on that shoe, all of a sudden, everywhere you go, you see shoes following you in the World Wide Web, right?
Yeah.
You love that, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's definitely, I've been served many a targeted ad on social media. Yeah, it's definitely used a lot in the marketing space to get, people to buy this thing or use this service. And sometimes it does feel like your phone is listening to you, even though it really is just, based on data collected through various websites that you view regularly. But yeah, it is used a lot in AI, or sorry, in marketing, to basically, I mean, we use it, right, to help track data of potential partners, of potential clients that might be interested in SeedPod service, especially when it comes to email marketing and ads as well, online ads.
Right,
So yeah.
right. But the important thing is that if you use those tools, you should be disclosing that, and that's where the privacy policies come in. And often companies fall short, is that they'll use those tools, and most of the time it's not for nefarious, purposes per se. It's just a marketing person. Hey, I want to be able to track this. They throw it on. They don't maybe know or aren't aware that there are rules about what you can and can't do. And then an attorney, plaintiff's attorney, they scour all these sites, they find all these trackers, they look at the privacy policies, there's no disclosures, and then, all of a sudden the company is served a notice there. So it is something. I think the positive is, from a privacy perspective, and I'll be, I don't know what your thoughts are. I'd be interested in both your thoughts, obviously, is, this privacy is still important, and it needs to be managed in some way for the benefit of individuals, and there. And, now AI, we've always had privacy issues, right? But now AI is making it almost easier to be in violation of privacy. And there's also, what is, should we just give up the ghost on privacy? And, Akanksha, are you just going to take over our entire world, and there's nothing that we can hide anymore from you?
Totally. ChatGPT, the new version, will know everything about you and all you do, all your likes and dislikes. They store all that information. But there are ways to, I mean, by default, they very, like, coming back to the privacy policies that we don't look at, we also don't look at when we're using ChatGPT or Claude. So They are by default collecting all of your information.
By default?
By default, unless you go into the settings and click this button that says, do not use my data for training a model.
That's Sam Altman. He knows everything about me now.
Yes. So all of the versions of ChatGPT that have come after you've used it, all the O1s and O3s, they all know everything about you.
So there's a little bit of Doug DNA in
Yes.
ChatGPT now.
Yes.
So that's pretty scary, right, Maddie?
Yes. If you Google, like, who is Doug, you might show up.
Oh boy. Have you ever used ChatGPT have you ever used the talking version where you actually ask chat questions?
No.
Oh my goodness. It's so weird. We're going to have chat. We'll even ask chat here. I've got chat right here. Hey, chat. We're talking about privacy and AI. Is that a big deal, or should we just give you all of our information?
It can be super helpful, but it should always respect privacy and keep your data secure. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. You
heard it. Definitely something to keep in mind. That's about as evasive an answer as any high-paid lawyer could give you.
That's what an AI would tell you. But also, I saw this on the news actually today that all of the shared GPT chats that you create, where you're creating something for the team, you're prompting, it's a long chat, and you click on create a URL to share with the team. A lot of them have been public now. They show up on Google searches.
Oh,
All the
really?
shared chats, yes. So
Oh,
if
wow.
there is a prompt that says chat gpt / like underscore something shared messages, and you see a list of a lot of marketing chats, and most of them just happen to be marketing. The post that I saw, because a lot of marketing teams use it, and it was very interesting that none of it was private anymore.
Wow. But and Maddie, have you gone to Chat GPT and locked yourself down, or is there little Maddie DNA now spread out through the chatosphere?
Yeah, now there's probably little Maddie DNA spread out, which is something that I'm going to change after this. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know that it was by default. So that's fun information to find out for the first time.
Right. So Akanksha, and then for the audience who may be, wanting to do the same thing, basically, if you go into settings
Yeah.
and then you spend about 20 minutes looking
Finding that
through
button, yes.
submenus to
Yes.
next submenu to submenu, basically the basement and the door to the left, there's a little person who will,
Let you out.
you swipe left, and
Yes.
then you're all of a sudden
Free.
future Maddie conversations won't be used.
Yes.
There, and so there is a way for you to do it, and there's probably a
Yeah.
few other things, and I think that businesses, certainly, but individuals should be cognizant of really needing to pay attention.
To privacy, yes.
Right, right. But what is the future here? I know we're somewhat joking, but it is a serious topic of individual privacy. Obviously, business, IP, as well. How big a deal is it as you think about this in the future, from your perspective, Akanksha? Given what you know about AI.
I think because we're collecting so much data about all the individuals, and like the IP is getting used to train new models, it'll be all of your private stuff will be accessible on the latest model. They just will anonymize it, say that XYZ company, but it'll be everything you pitch to your team. So, which is no good, because that's where your revenue comes from, which is very scary. So you have to make sure that all the privacy settings, even though it might take you like an hour to set them up, it should be definitely a best practice for using AI in companies, unless you can pay OpenAI $1 billion to have an in-house GPT. So.
Right. And Maddie, from your perspective, not just in marketing, but just as an individual, what, when you think of AI and you think of, do you think of it, and I'm so glad that I'm, at this point in the world where that AI is now here, and my life will be so much better, and the world will be, a happy place now? Or are you thinking Terminator 3 and it's the end of days here?
I'm not quite at the point where it's Terminator, but I am like fairly critical of AI and its uses. I come from, like, I went to school for theater. I come from like a very artist place. A lot of my friends are artists. And I think that AI has definitely negatively impacted the arts in a lot of ways, in terms of writing, in terms of visual art. That I think that part of generative AI is very like, it's not my cup of tea. I think that especially seeing visual art, which when AI generated has to take it from somewhere. It can't just create, art like humans can. So it's seeing that being taken from various places, various artists that they find on the internet, works that they find on the internet. That I just think that like has a negative impact, personally, because I think that art is such a art specifically is such a human thing that we do. So it's sad to see it kind of stripped of its meaning in a way.
Right, right. Akanksha, how do you feel about AI and art or other aspects of I think a lot of lawyers, as an example, are sitting there wondering why they just spend all that money to go through law school when Claude is now reviewing contracts, right? So, how do you think about this?
I think there's two sides to it. In one side, AI can help humans do things that they've already been doing in an easier and faster way. But to Maddie's point, in some domains, it's been detrimental. That's where I think AI ethics should be a thing, because ethical use of AI makes it so that we only get the good sides of AI and not the thing that's stripping us of our humanity. I had a class where we were mostly looking in grad school, where we were mostly looking at how artists are not getting their recognition. Their art has been stolen by generative image generation tools, and none of it's being credited. And now anyone can generate a Picasso style art in like a minute, which is, I mean, if you do it out of respect to Picasso, which is great, but you can't say that it's also very disrespectful to someone's art and their unique style. And also that also uh, destroys an entire industry of artists who have spent their whole careers or education learning all these techniques and honing their crafts. So in that case, I do think that we need to have some ethics. I think more than AI being the problem, it's the people who are creating the AI and using it for those things that's the problem, which is why we need like strict guidelines around like safety and also like ethical use of it.
Right, right. But the how do you get you have these tech companies that are literally investing tens to hundreds of billions of dollars a year on this,
Mhm.
and then you have 70-year-old men in Washington who are responsible for making laws to allegedly oversee someone. There's there how do you even regulate this? How do you even get the right people together to have a conversation around ethics and AI? Is that possible?
I think it might take, because AI is so new, it might take a little bit longer. I think the AI boom is similar to the .com boom or the internet boom that happened. Like early internet, which I haven't seen, Doug. You might have experienced it, even the early users of the internet. But you must have seen the early internet is very different from the internet that we have now. Anything was possible in early internet. Like anything goes that can be in the human imagination, good and bad. So, but then it took a while, but people came together and regulated the internet and made it a safer place for people. I'm sure it's not as safe as it could be, but it's still very much safer. So it might take a little bit of time. And also, the power shouldn't be under the hands of one person sitting in Washington or under $1 billion company, because companies, the only thing they care about is their bottom line. Big
Sure.
tech. So
Yeah.
it should be with like organizations that oversee at least multiple countries or multiple continents and people, like something like the European GDPR rules, where they have good ethical standards of what constitutes as rightful use of tech and not rightful use of tech. So something like that should probably make the
Right, right. And they and GDP or the EU has come up with AI guidelines already, which they published. and the U.S. has been talking about it there. Maddie, how what do you think is the right way to create an ethical standards that might work for AI?
I mean, I feel like it would. I agree completely with Akanksha. I think it takes, specific organizing to get, a piece of legislation through that would, properly regulate. Which I don't even know necessarily what the regulation would look like, other than, data privacy, intellectual property protection, stuff like that. But I completely agree with Akanksha. I think the difficult part is trying to get it passed without, while keeping, those companies that are working with AI kind of separate, because they will, lobbying is a thing, and they will pump a bunch of money into Washington to try to kind of create loopholes and things like that, in my opinion.
Right.
But I think it's possible. I just also know how long it takes. It still feels like we're behind on everything technology-wise that has come before AI. So it does feel like it will take a bit of time to get what feels like proper regulation.
Right. I mean, I think I would agree, and I think that part in the U.S. Fortunately, and you guys may, you can agree to disagree on it, but we do have a solid base of laws around privacy, around intellectual property, copyright, etc. It's in some cases it may be just how do we apply it into this new technology, right? There is a ground of laws, and so maybe in some cases we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to kind of make sure that it fits in this new construct. The big challenge that I think tech companies have, and it came through in the bill earlier this year, part of the big beautiful bill, I guess, was that they weren't able to put in kind of a moratorium on state-based AI laws. So each state now, make up its own AI privacy or AI ethical standards, which I could see tech companies being challenged with. How do I keep 50 different presumably sets of laws in keep us in line to 50 different sets of laws? But that'll be something that they'll have to deal with as we move forward here. But is the and then the fortunate thing though too is that while AI is, and I've asked you, Akanksha, AI takes up a lot of energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our power grid, wasn't built for an AI world. And some are saying it's really going to take at least 10 years, if not 20 years, for AI fully to get to a state where it is more pervasive or extremely pervasive in our working and individual lives, just because it takes that long to build up the power grid. Do you agree with that, or do you feel no, AI is going to be there's going to be rapid advances, and buckle your seatbelt because we're in for a bumpy ride?
I think media makes it seem like there's a new AI buzzword every single day. One day it's agents, one day it's MCP,
Right.
one day something else. But I do think it might take a longer time because of the energy restrictions. We don't have enough energy unless someone working in quantum technology can create that for us. The energy might be a limiting factor.
Right.
But we also, the AI alignment theory talks about it's a very famous paper in the AI world, especially because of AI safety. They talk about how advancements in AI would be essentially very linear line with a small slope, and then at some point it will reach the alignment point where it will grow exponentially. And then AI has like that point. The point of inflection is the when AI becomes as intelligent as a human, and that's when they become sentient, and that's when their super intelligence goes up. But for that, that's a massive energy consuming task, so it will take a while for that.
Right.
And that is assuming that everyone in the world continues to use AI just as we are right now, because there have been big booms in technology after internet boom, which did not pan out, like NFTs or blockchain or big data.
Right.
I think I would give it a couple more years before I have like a conclusive answer to will it stay or will it just a trend? Will it just be a trend?
Right, right. There, and you mentioned agents, and I happened to be earlier this week. Went into chat and uh, I saw try this agent and asked the agent to do whatever you want it to do. So I was interested in the types of leads that we were getting as a company. And I wanted it to analyze those leads to try to come up with, what's are based on the responses, who who are the types of customers that would most likely be interested in us. And it went through, and I asked it to go look at another database, take these leads, do an analysis of them, come back with what the criteria should be, and how we should maybe communicate with them from a marketing standpoint. And it did it. I mean, it went away to cook or bake or whatever it did. And when I came back, it was, I had a nice report, and I'll be sharing that with the marketing team tomorrow. There, can you talk a little bit about what agents really are? What goes on in that cooking?
Yes. So agents are a concept in the generative AI world, in the LLM, large language model space, essentially sort of like how retrieval augmented generation is a concept there. So LLMs are essentially they are just binaries. They're trained to analyze text. It's a model that's been trained on a big, large data. And when you ask it a question, it'll look at what it's been trained on, and it'll answer a question based on that. That's a normal LLM. But how an agent differs, so an LLM, because it has such a vast repository of data that it's looking for. LLMs have a lot of imagination, and the outputs, there is parameter to it in ChatGPT, which is called temperature, which essentially modifies how creative the output is, because there is such a vast storage of information. If you give it like an ambiguous question, like a word that may refer to multiple things, it can give you a random answer, which might be different from what you want. So the language model is thinking on itself. What agents does is essentially it's a language model, but here, if the language model has a brain, agents allows us to tell the brain how to think. It's essentially almost like how um, we're teaching kids how to read the alphabets. So kids don't know, but when we teach them, they learn how to think in that pattern. Okay, this is an alphabet. This can become words. So agentic architecture, it's just an architecture within a language model. It's a it's just making things more concise and more directed as to on what we want. So how agents work is that we have a big agent architecture, and inside those are tools. So think of tools as the different directions that your brain might think in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know two languages like English and French, so when someone asks you a question, based on what they ask, you might think of it in two different languages and answer them back in different languages. So if an agent knew English and French, when it gets a question, it has a vast repository of languages that it knows. But because we have the tools that are in English and French, it knows those better. We have trained them to first think of those. So the brain will go and first think that, okay, is this question in English? Is this in French? And if they cannot find it in any of their knowledge of those languages, only then will they move to like other languages that they know. So we're agents are essentially, the tools are essentially guiding the agent on how to solve the problem that we wanted to solve.
So Akanksha, when will I be able to ask an agent to make me a chicken salad sandwich? That's what I want to know.
Okay. For that, we have to upload the agent on an Optimus, on Tesla's Optimus,
Um,
or anything that some humanoid company is making.
So I
Yes.
have to. So then, but seriously, the agents, I ask an agent to do something, and then I can ask another agent to take that product and do something with it.
Yes.
There, so I could have an agent that's very good at copywriting, let's say, and then an agent that's very good at marketing segmentation, and creating, and then I have a third agent that's good at marketing strategy, and they can kind of create what's my ICP and what's the approach to the marketing there.
Yes.
Is that, and then
Yes.
other agents which could send out the email.
Yes. Agent to you can have multiple agent architectures, and each agent can be trained to or taught to focus on certain
Right.
things.
Right. So Maddie, and this is actually being talked about, is that, individuals like a marketing person, instead of having to, do everything yourself, you would be like a manager of a bunch of AI agents. So every morning you'd come in and say, hello, team, and this is what I want you to do today. And the agents would go about and do the work, and you would be reviewing it. You'd be that human in, what is it? Human in
the loop.
You would be the human in the loop, going back, and you would be saying, no, not to that one agent. That's not what I asked for. This is what you need. Right. And so that's, I think, when we talk about taking away jobs, aren't we really just talking about reshaping jobs? What do you think, Maddie?
Well, my initial reaction to that is, but I want communication between, like, I want to go into work and not just talk to a screen all day. I mean, I know we work from home, so I am talking to a screen all day, but like I like that, communication between people and the collaboration on a team to get a job done. And I think I think that also, like, it only adds like one specific job to then tackle multiple jobs, which I think will, that does lessen the job pool in certain, like, departments as well. So that's my initial reaction is scared, but I do understand. Like, I think it's complicated, because I understand wanting to use AI for tedious jobs that might take many hours and can be done in 1 or 2 minutes or in 15
Right.
minutes, depending on what you're doing. But I also do like, problem solving and working with other humans.
Right. Yeah. Be interesting to see if that will be considered prejudicial down the road, once AI rights become a thing. But we've gone over time. We haven't. We're way beyond. It was great that us three Gen Zers could really, have this conversation. Well, maybe I'll ask chat to turn me into a Gen Z. That would be scary. But in any event, it is interesting to get the different perspectives on AI. And also, we've talked a little bit about its impact from a risk standpoint. We'll talk more about that in future episodes too. But, Maddie, Akanksha, really appreciate the conversation. And thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Yep. Bye-bye.